If there's a building which can compete with the Croatian National Theatre on the square of the theatre itself, it's this one, the Museum of Arts and Crafts. And it's definitely more interesting for any tourist. Built in 1880, it enshrines the entire range of human visual creativity. The museum boasts a total of more than 100,000 objects in 20 different collections. Some of them see the light of day only in special exhibitions, such as this one. This exhibition presents 100 years since the wristwatches were first made. Of course, wristwatches didn't come out of thin air. Watches attached to bracelets were first mentioned in the 16th century. It was recorded that Robert Dudley gave such a wristwatch bracelet to his friend Queen Elizabeth I. Still, it was exclusively an accessory for women, like a piece of jewellery. Then, in the late 19th century, watches were put on custom bracelets, but they were used only by the military. In fact, the first large batch of wristwatches was produced in the First World War. The soldiers in the trenches needed them to synchronise their attacks or make ballistic calculations. In the early 20th century, wristwatches were still considered effeminate, unlike pocket watches. However, since they were now worn by war veterans and pilots from the First World War who were anything but effeminate, other men started following their example and wearing wristwatches. Wristwatches for men were also the first to introduce technical innovations. So the exhibition follows their development through the 20th century. Automatic winding. The first battery watch, the 1957 Hamilton. The first electronic watches, which used to have a tuning fork as an oscillator. But in 1969, Seiko made the first electronic quartz watch. Interestingly, it was made in only 100 units and it cost like a small Japanese car. Soon, however, the price of quartz watches dropped sharply. The Japanese overcame the Swiss, who found themselves in big trouble. What made them rebound was Swatch. It was launched in 1983 with a great marketing approach. Swatch was presented as both well-designed and affordable. In the next 8 years, 75 million swatches were sold, which was unprecedented. Watches for women are a fashionable item. That's why their development is illustrated by cutouts from old magazines. You might have not known that digital watches existed in 1930s already. That's because any watch that shows only numbers is a digital watch, regardless of whether it's quartz or mechanical. There are also specialised watches, like sport chronographs and diving watches. There is a curious group consisting of watches behind the Iron Curtain. Finally, there is the work of a designer from the 1990s, Jean-Christophe Maréchal. It seems the history of watches has made a full circle. Now, in the age of mobile phones, watches are again a fashion accessory and a status symbol more than anything else.